I met Mothman, and I didn't even know who the hell Mothman was 20 years ago.
Explain to me, what is Mothman? Can you tell us exactly what an incubus and succubus is?
They are male and female sexual ghosts. They just come have sex with you.
But you've had personal experiences with
Oh,
this.
yeah. There was a very famous, infamous murder-suicide inside that building. I heard a couple people even put me into the murder-suicide, which I had nothing to do with.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the HORRORble podcast. Tonight, I have a very beautiful lady that has traveled all the way here to Austin to come talk with us. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm Bloody Mary, sometimes known as Voodoo Queen Bloody Mary. I'm from New Orleans, and I'm coming to sit around the bonfire with you. And your bonfire is close to the original one because, of course, bonfire came from the words bone fire, when they actually burnt the bones.
So tell me, where are you exactly from?
I'm exactly from New Orleans.
Oh, so you're from New Orleans.
Born and raised New
Orleans.
Orleans.
Okay, got you.
My family's been there before there was in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So 1699 on the explorer's boat that came in to found new areas for France. And my 10th gen, first Creole ancestor, was on that boat. And he's the one that's also related to Marie Laveau, and she's my, sixth cousin, 6 times removed, and Henriette de Lille, who's becoming a saint right now in the Catholic Church.
Marie Laveau is your cousin?
6th cousin, 6th time removed, because we have shared great-grandparents from France, many generations before that. Same one that was with Henriette, who was her cousin too. Anybody, and there's not many of us left, who've been from New Orleans for that long, when it was a very small colony.
Yeah.
I started doing crazy genealogy recently. I always did some, but I found out more and more, and just related to everybody. Funnest thing I found out, the funnest thing I found out recently is that first Creole ancestor, he married a casket girl. So my great-greats are the first run of casket girls that were sent here.
We're going to get back to the casket
But I am
girl.
a casket girl descendant.
I want to get back to that because I don't want to jump into that too early. Talk to me about...
I can't say that I inherited any of the vampires or not. I'm sworn to secrecy.
We're going to talk about those too.
But
talk to me about this stuff you got here.
Oh, I have a small traveling bag.
Yeah. Well,
one, because I knew that we were going to be outside, so I definitely want to honor the wee folk, the cousins.
Okay.
So I have a shiny crystal, some flowers, and their favorite sustenance, honey.
Flowers and honey, okay.
Well, they really like honeys and cake a lot.
Fairies like cake?
Oh, God, yes. Yeah, if I had had time to bake, they would have adored it.
Who would have ate that?
Huh?
Who would have ate that?
The fairies.
So I would come out here a week later and the cake would be gone?
Well, absolutely, but you got animals, too.
True.
So
how you
somebody
know?
does it. It's the act of offering. They can absorb the essence. I feed the ghosts all the time on my ghost sons. That's a voodoo thing.
Okay.
And, but it's a lot of old cultures. Yes, you feed them the things they liked in life. Even just the scent of it would bring them there. The socialization, you give them cigars, cigarettes, liquor. All of those things that they like. But if there was a particular thing they like, you give it. The fact that we can create things out of, we and the bees, create things out of what nature gives us, of which they're in charge of, delights them. So if I actually went inside and cooked a cake and changed, it's magic, right? You're transforming that flour with the egg and beating it with a rhythm. All that's part of it. And so May 1st, generally, you're supposed to leave out milk and, well, actually a lot, but especially on May 1st, on Beltane. Milk, a cake, some honey. They like mead. You don't give them too hard of liquor because then it's kind of rough. My ghosts, they get hard liquor. Fairies, they don't. Fairies got jobs to do. It's not Disney.
Why is May 1st so significant?
It is the change of a season. It's spring. Beltane is one of the wheels of the year that the veil is thin, so the spirits can more easily come through. And if you rub the first dew in the morning, which I'm sure you got lots of out here, first dew in the morning on your eyes, May 1st, you'll get the second sight, even more. So that's a gift of the fairies for that particular day.
Second
and
sight.
I got my little 4-year-old grandson trained that way too, and my son and all
But
that.
second sight meaning I can see spirits?
Yeah. I mean, and it worked. I mean, I had already seen spirits, but at that particular time I saw more fairies and things were more clear that particular weekend, which was a huge celebration of Beltane with many rituals for the ancestors, rituals for the spirits, goddess, all of that. But yeah, that's just something that they can help you do. They can also grow your forest and your flowers, and they do big things. Change seasons, change tectonic plates. You know, they're not just whimsical. So they're just
you give
another
me a lot
form,
of information right now.
another form of entity.
Yeah.
We're not alone. And I hate this whole over there, over here. It's not just they're here. I mean, there's so many different dimensions, so many entities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not just ghosts. In fact, the word demons came from daemons, which meant all of it. Ghosts, fairies, pixies, all of that was one word, wasn't good or evil.
Yeah.
You know, that was later when the biblical war, religious wars started to make everything that wasn't the Holy Spirit evil.
We're going to talk about that too. Because I want to jump from the beginning
Well, what's the beginning?
to the now. Your
when
childhood.
I was born? You want my childhood?
So,
all right. My mom was.
Did you grow up in a religious household?
Yes, my mom was a nun before she married my dad.
Okay.
And my dad was like head usher, and I went to Catholic school. And I was kicked out of the 8th grade by a hunchback midget nun by the name of Sister Kathleen, and that is very true. And that ruined my life.
A hunchback?
She was. I can't lie about it. She was one of the first. Well, anyway, she was
Okay.
mean. And it was a Catholic grammar school which went through 8th grade. So I got kicked out of the second half of 8th grade. Couldn't graduate with my friends. She said I had dreams that weren't normal. Now, how she knew my dreams was another story. So it's not like I hung out with her and had a heart-to-heart, right?
You weren't telling her your dreams?
Hell no. No, she was too busy measuring the length of my skirt and mad at me because I was hanging out with public school boys and she saw us smoking cigarettes, or whatever reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Then the priests weren't mad, but she was. So yeah, that is very true.
Okay.
She had spies in my neighborhood, and I was starting to get more darker visitations because that was adolescence. And that's when things get heavy.
So you've always been
spiritual,
connected to the darker side since you were a child?
No. I'm not necessarily connected to the darker side now. I'm
just spiritual.
I'm a priestess and spiritual and a spiritualist and a healer and many things. I am not afraid of the dark side. In fact, I don't know if I do this whole black, white, hot, light, dark. They need each other for balance. So we try to balance it out. So nothing is pure evil. Mm-hmm. Nothing is pure light. But no. When I was way young, I would see visions. I had a fairy little helper when I was a kid. Goldie was her name. So...
Hold on.
What?
How did you know that it was a fairy and she was a helper?
Because she was helping me.
But you could see this fairy physically?
This one I could, very young. And my mother told me stories of other things that I said that I don't consciously remember. But she helped me in several situations. And then when she didn't help me, on one time that I got in trouble and got a bad spanking, and she disappeared and she left me. Or maybe I pushed away because she didn't step forward. But I was trapped by a neighbor's dog, I guess going in someone's backyard trying to find my friend. And I was trapped by a very angry German shepherd, cornered, and I was missing for hours. And, my mother didn't know where I was. And she wanted to know how I got away. And I said, well, Goldie, brought me to the door and protected me. So I had a protector, one of many spirit guides. Okay. They come from many places. I have angels, you have fairies, I have ghosts, I have ancestors. You inherit sometimes, that are passed down when family members die. There's a team out there that you have.
All right, y'all. Tonight's sponsor, Cloaked, dared me to find out how exposed my information is online. Cloak found somebody selling my social security number, and it's more than one person. I guess the scammers is using my shit like toilet paper. My dogs at Cloak track down where your data is being sold, and they remove it. You and I both know that them terms and services be 32 pages long, and nobody wants to read that. Data brokers are betting that you won't do a damn thing about it. Not me. Not today. I'm damn sure downloading Cloak and getting all my shit off the internet. Cloaked also allows you to create unlimited burner phone numbers, email addresses, usernames. You will go flat out incognito mode and nobody will find out where they're coming from. Not only is your identity protected, but this is our actual chance to fuck over the data brokers, because when they buy our information now, they're buying nothing but worthless information. If your ass is ready to take back what is yours, use cloaked.com/horrible and you'll get 30% off of any plan. The longer you wait, the more of your information gets bought and sold. How could you tell the difference between, I guess, a spirit, a fairy, all these different guides? How could you tell the difference?
Well, when I was a kid, I saw what looked like a little fairy. Literally. Okay. You know, at that point, my knowledge of spirits had to do a lot with the Catholic Church. They had visitations. They saw spirits. They talked to spirits. Many of the nuns and saints, male and female, had supernatural talents. You know, some could bilocate. Some could talk to other worlds. Some could see the future. You know, there was lots of things that happened. But all of a sudden, as I got older, when I started asking questions like, well, you know, why can't we do that now? It's like, oh, it doesn't happen anymore. It's like, why? And there was no answers there. So I found answers researching into the occult and in voodoo. And I got answers.
Was there a specific moment as a child you knew that you could see or talk to different spirits? Like, was there a very first moment?
There wasn't like a, aha moment. It kind of just always was something that I thought was there, since I was always told stories of supernatural and spiritual things. It didn't change until that adolescence time. And then some of the spirits come knocking on the door, we're looking for something else.
Like what?
Like what most men are coming to your door for as you are developing, let's say. It's always adolescence that more entities will make their way, right? They say that's when the fontanelle is finally closed and you're less connected, but it's that last hurrah before the door closes, you know. There's so many that come on, and I was having dreams and visions and what they call tunneling now that I travel between the worlds in different places. I was having great experiences, and then all of a sudden it got more sexual. I did not tell that nun that, but she knew.
So she knew.
She knew something was going on. I didn't talk about it much.
What if she was putting together that you were hanging out with the older
said that,
boys?
I never thought about that till right now, that bitch. I don't know.
But you said that she
cuss.
saw you hanging out with the public school boys.
Well, they weren't the demons.
But maybe she knew what they would bring, and that's how she put two and two together.
Smoking cigarettes will bring that too.
I mean,
no, it was adolescence. You know, I think there was an element of jealousy.
Maybe.
You know, it certainly wasn't pure of heart. I want to save someone's soul. It wasn't from that angle. The very next year, she got kicked out of teaching totally for starting on another girl except me. But it was too late. I had already been rooted from my friends in my school, and went to a different biblical Christian school down the way. But yeah, so it changed. I wasn't necessarily afraid, and I'm still not afraid much. It started to be more aggressive, maybe a little bit more monstrous, for lack of a better word, and it did get a bit sexual. And then I started, okay, let's see what the hell this is. So I went and did a deep dive, way before there was an internet, in old libraries with old documents. And most of the documents that I found about said sexual ghosts, incubus and succubus, were in Catholic Church documents. There were popes that had 10-year affairs with the same succubus. And very detailed sexual things were written that they would confess to. And we're talking a long time ago, 1400s, 1200s,
Can you tell us exactly what an incubus and succubus is for the people that don't know?
Okay. An incubus is usually referred to as a male sexual ghost.
Okay.
I suppose you could say they're put into the family of demons. Some believe that they're male or female, so they're neither or both sexes. So incubus and succubus could be argued to be the same thing.
Okay.
So pretty much they come and they, according to the Catholics, they come and gather these extra emissions so they could procreate the demon race. But they just come have sex with you. Now you can fight them off. You can let it happen. And I've talked to a lot of people about this since those things have happened.
But you've had personal experiences with this.
Oh, yeah. And many.
So
not just
are
one
you
or
fighting
two.
them off, or did you? I gotta ask.
No, I did not fight them off. No.
Okay.
I
So
controlled
you
them.
enjoyed
I
yourself?
made them stand in line, and I made them do what I said. And then I said, get the fuck out. While another family member was having similar things, she was bruised and, battling.
So is it enjoyable?
Oh, hell yeah. But I still say it's not safe sex.
But does it feel okay?
Better.
So it's not safe sex.
It's not because at the time I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what an orgasm was. I was very young. Mm-hmm. I just know, whoa, this is ecstasy is really the term for it. But, it's a full body kind of thing. It's a full body kind of thing that like every pore is affected, not just a short blast. So it wasn't quite right at first that I had a lot and that I enjoyed it. At first I just was like just a little bit of like, what the hell is that? And then I looked into it. I had to look at what, what is this? What is sex? What is that? Mm-hmm. Then I moved to this other house and it happened to be more regularly.
Is it when it's happening, mm-hmm. Does it feel physical? Like, can you physically feel a person doing
inside
whatever?
Me, yes.
But you can't physically touch this person.
Oh, yes, I have, but not always. One time, a creepy time. I was trying to think if I had any creepy times. One time, but as I said, this is long ago. This doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, they still try, even though I'm old. It's like I'll feel something in the bed, and my husband's insomniac, and I'll just kind of like, somebody's not in bed with you, and all of a sudden they are, and you just kind of put your hand over, and it's like, oh, that ain't you. And a lot of times they'll be just as surprised that you feel them, and they'll get out, and that'll be the end of it. Other times there is some kind of struggle for whatever, or, so it's different, but I could feel them, and they're not expecting that. But one time I was sleeping on my stomach, and at this particular apartment, there was a window there, and the door to get in the apartment was there. And I was on my stomach facing the window. I should do some 3D stuff for this. Come here.
No, you don't need no 3D.
Come here. Well, anyway, I could use him.
Who is him? Don't touch that.
It's all right.
Don't touch that. No, do
I'm
not touch that.
You're no fun. So you won't let me do it to you. I just felt long nails scratching on the back of my head like that. And it woke me up.
Okay.
And I went, whoop. And I was, this is creepy. Cratery, oozing, kind of completely covered with holes on that body. Boop, that was done. There was no sex. But so I mean, very 3D. I was just going to scratch your head. That's all I was going to do.
I didn't know what you were going to do.
You gotta trust me. I've helped so many people that have traumas on this. I don't have traumas.
Okay. Is this something that you've expressed to your family when it was happening?
No, I didn't.
So you didn't tell anybody about this?
Definitely not anyone in my family.
Yeah.
If there was a best friend, I'm not sure. I don't think so, though.
Like, how would you even tell somebody? I'm getting...
By the way, do you have sex with strangers that come in and then they disappear? I think I must have told a few friends. Yeah, I don't know if they believed me or didn't understand it or whatever. But so I had to go out and find other people that had similar things, case studies, and I found lots of things like this. There's a long history.
So this is really happening to people even to this day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I did what the hell? I did a ghost adventure show. I did 4, but I did one that they were in my house. My house is very haunted. And I don't know if you're allowed to talk about other people in here, but anyway, everybody
talk
always
about
wants to know
whatever.
about Mr. Zach. So they came in and I gave him a couple locations. One was a haunted brothel, and he wanted to get laid or something. He started talking about, have you had ghost sex or he wanted ghost sex. And I said, oh, it's not safe sex. And he said, am I going to get a disease? And I said, no, you're not going to get a disease. But I meant, safe sex as it could take some vital force. It could take some energy from you. It could drain you depending on the type of energy you have. I mean, I'm a high energy person, even old now, but it wasn't affecting me in that way. But I didn't know that one needed to use that sexual energy to dedicate to create in this world. Hence the words procreate. Doesn't always have to be babies, but you have to use and harness that energy for yourself. So I didn't go into great detail with him. And I said, here, I just made this batch of love potion, take it with you. He goes, but you told me not to. And I was like, yeah, but you're going to do it anyway. So you might as well have something that would lure and something that they would recognize from their time period. It would be like a trigger smell.
Makes sense.
Because smells are very big as part of, it's supposedly the first sense that develops in utero, and it's the last sense that's still registered after you're dead. So using incenses and scents, and I always have my little perfumes and stuff here, is part of mystical traditions. And I use that word instead of witch, because all mystical traditions, including religious, have similar factors going on. They also have similar monsters that they're worried about with different names and similar types of bad spirits or good spirits. Now, I don't know if these demons were bad. They were horny, but that's their job. And maybe they were just gathering energy. There's a lot of people out there in different traditions that gather and harness other people's energy, whether it's vampiric, whether it's crowdsourced.
You said crowdsource, meaning like a concert?
Yeah, that's a great place. Look at all the energy that's
Okay.
wasted in there. We know that the musicians feed off of that. Anyone on a stage in the audience, you as a basketball player fed off your audience, right?
Of course.
And there's a lot of it that isn't used. So I had to gather quite a lot where I could after Katrina to heal New Orleans. And there wasn't as much crowd source as there is today. So the few times that there was, I went to gather it, and there were certain things out there that weren't so happy that I was using it to heal. They wanted to use it for something else. Going into the woods and grounding into the earth and holding onto a tree and talking to the fairies and feeding them and saying, I need to, gather energy, and I hold it in my solar plexus area. Below there's something called the Dantana chakra that can gather energy so that you can heal self and others. So you can get it from a lot of places.
What you think about like amusement parks when people are screaming? Is that considered an energy harvest?
Well, it could be. I haven't personally used that because that might get too close to people wanting to murder in order to get the fear and the scream.
Okay.
So that's where, as you can tell if you watch news, people are going overboard, whether it's sexual, whether it's the fear factor of torture. So I don't use that, but it's there, I guess. However, going back in time, public executions, they were very popular events. People didn't have movies. They didn't have amusement parks. They watched it raw and wild and live, and Jackson Square right in the middle of New Orleans is where we did public executions. And they're quite grandiose, many of them, not just a simple hanging. There was a lot of drama associated with it. So, yeah, people have always fed on that or used that. So in that case, I suppose it would be a more safe venue to gather some of that energy. Though people tried to use it to stop future crimes. This is what will happen to you. Mm-hmm. But just like the movies that people are addicted to and horror films, they would go for get a certain feeding in them. And that could bring us to like our one of our dear famous ghosts in New Orleans, Madame LaLaurie. There was some of...
Explain to me who that is.
Both. Madame LaLaurie? Mm-hmm. She's probably the most known ghost in the South, maybe the country. And then since American Horror Story used her as one of the main characters, pitted her against Voodoo Queen Marie Laveau, which is not true, by the way. She tortured many slaves, okay? And I'm sure there was a bit of a passion, sexual, and passion with a whip. You know, she went a little beyond that 50 Shades of Grey there, you know, and I think that I say whoever goes there should not be into that because she could just jump right in and God knows what happens. But she's known to have tortured her slaves and/or experimented on them, depending on how you want to read the story. She was a rich socialite. She was above reproach. You know, but rumors got out and things were witnessed and talk about town. And until a fire broke out exposing some of the atrocities of the slave, she was kind of getting away with it. Some people will say that her husband, since he was a doctor, was her assistant, but they were already broken up at the time, at least for that time. I believe she had a hand in it all on her own, but I believe there was some form of intrigue and passion that went along besides just, let's say, a whip.
Mm-hmm.
And again, at the very least, a narcissistic psychopath, she got some pleasure, like you were talking about, in the dark side, in the death, watching them die. She was a relatively powerful woman in a time when women didn't have a lot of power, but in general had more power in New Orleans than the rest of this country.
Understood.
So yeah, she ran out of town in a rail after that. She lived and died in Paris. She never understood why she couldn't return to her beloved New Orleans. I've heard that story since I was a small child, and my great-great-great aunt, Emily Trustclair, is the original one that owned those 3 lots of property that she got as a dowry gift from the Ursuline nuns. They're in this always somehow, those Ursuline nuns. Anyway, she built the house when she was 15. It was supposed to be their house, her new husband, and decided she did not want to live there. And in my research and in my book, Haunting Cyrus and Dancing with the Dead, I found the original layout that was still the edge of the prison hospital graveyard. So many extra bodies that they dug up over the years, which they tried to just add on to the amount of kills that she had done, were probably the bones that were there before, which were not just the bones of any dead person, but of the prisoners. Mm. And according to the Catholic Church of the day, a vampire was a demon-possessed corpse. Okay, and the most demonic humans were prisoners. Since they were already on the dark side, they'd be the first one that would be repossessed, so to speak. So you've got living on top of a building like that, adding or being, I don't think she was possessed, and I don't think you can say the devil made me do it and get away with it, because what she did was horrific. Mm-hmm. However, there may be more to the story.
Okay.
And maybe that's why my great aunt didn't want to live there after she built the beautiful mansion.
Didn't you rent one of those houses?
No, God. I do that because it's not just you, it's everybody that makes that mistake now, and it's so annoying. Ever since the American Horror Story came out, and they put Madame LaLaurie and Marie Laveau in the same thing, all people hear is the la. Okay. Oh, is Laveau LaLaurie? No, they are not. They're 2 totally separate people in real life. But people think that because of that show. Or they wouldn't, there's so many people that had the la in front of their name. Mm-hmm. So LaLaurie was the white, rich Creole aristocrat. Marie Laveau was a free woman of color who had a grandfather who was very connected to politics and state. And his son was a mixed race, pretty much had Marie. So that would be in the same French lineage as my blood.
Gotcha.
And I have her place, yes. So
which place do you?
I have half of the cottage that was Marie Laveau's. It's a double shotgun now, but it's built on the original foundation. I've been there about 3 years doing lots of cleansing work. It's a fire last year that happened there, which might have had to do with Annabelle, but that's another episode. But yes, I have that place and have her spirits. And then I have my haunted museum, which is like a half a block away. So that's kind of like my studio.
Okay.
And then I have my house. So they're different places.
So where did you get the name Bloody Mary from?
Oh.
Talk to me about it.
Well, I don't drink blood, and I don't even do blood sacrifice, but it was more of a look in the mirror at night with a candle and Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. So it was name recognition. I was doing ghost and vampire tours, and it stuck. And I ended up having that as my pen name, my stage name, my TV name, and all that. So it wasn't anything about the literal blood, except I did a lot of research on blood over the years.
Mhm.
And I like the looking into the mirror. That was a form of scrying. It's like looking into a crystal ball.
You
By the way,
recommend
Bloody Mary's...
you recommend people play this game?
Yeah, sure.
You think something will actually conjure?
It's not what you think.
I wonder how many people are watching this that have actually played the game Bloody Mary.
Hundreds of thousands. I used to get so many damn phone calls in the middle of the night from screaming teenage girls that I was going to show them who Bloody Mary really was. They didn't stop calling me. I mean, to the point that it was like, oh my God, you'll never find love. You'll never, start giving him prophecy. Everyone was like, you'll never find love and you'll never be happy. He's like, are you calling me fat? It's like, yeah, I am. No, so yes, annoying children. However, go way back. And you would like this because you're a horror film dude, okay?
A little bit.
Bloody Mary only became bloody when slasher movies became popular. Before that, when I was 11, 12 doing this kind of thing, there was no bloody person coming out of the mirror. You were supposed to see who your future husband was, what you looked like in a past life. It was a rite of passage, which was like scrying into water or mirror, which changed that. And the candle flickering or the fire that's there was part of it. So it was a changing time. And since most time people do it as like 11 and 12, in a woman, says it's usually a woman, not a man, that changed. They were having their period, and that's Bloody Mary. There's no ghost. There's no monster. It's you. You're bringing out a different part of you. If you see the monster, then you're the monster.
Never heard that take before.
Oh, because I've been studying this for 20 years. I've taught more, 35.
If you see the monster, you are the monster.
Well, I mean, I just kind of added that, but it's what you see. What you see in the mirror. If you see your past life as this monstrous thing, then you're seeing a part of you that you have to come face to face with. If you see a beautiful person, if you see a scary old lady, what's your fear? You're facing your fears. You're also changing time periods in your life.
Mm-hmm.
There was a really bad 1970s kind of vampire movie. I think it was called Bloody Mary. And there was a person in that movie whose name was Mary Worth. And for the next 20 years, everybody said, oh, yeah, no, it was a girl that died named Mary Worth. It's like, no, that was a bad movie. And they took that out of that and made it. So it wasn't. Now, I'm also got a little bit of a bloodline connected to Queen Elizabeth and Mary Queen I, who was known as Bloody Mary. So that was another reason I chose that, talking about blood mysteries and doing some form of mirror scrying with people. So yes, I have a setup in my haunted museum. There's mirrors, there's stuff. And I also have it set up so light deprivation so that you can kind of get more out of your body for things. So I have that and talk about it there because I have to talk about it since I named myself that, right? It has nothing to do with the movie that people will come singing to me about because that really annoys me,
Gotcha.
Bloody Mary is the...
I don't even think I know that song.
Yeah, South Pacific, I think the movie was. It was a musical.
I have no idea.
It's some Hawaiian thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
You get off the boat and everybody starts singing that to me. A whole busload of people got out saying to me once. I was like, that's not scary. Go away.
Talk to me about, you're from New Orleans.
Yes.
People, there's this whole...
People are nuts. It's the first place that they felt that they felt like the spirit energy, whether they believe it or not. There's something going on here is a constant thing that people say that they're not used to. Now, me, on the other hand, I'm used to it. I'm born and raised with it. Sitting out in a fishing camp with the gators out as a kid and walking through the graveyards as someplace to go while our parents are waiting in line outside at the restaurant and we're all playing hide and seek in the graveyard. I'm very used to all this. But new people come in thinking the big easy and all this romance. She's a bitch. it's hard. New Orleans is hard. It's not easy.
That
and
nickname,
they lose it when they get there, you know?
But then why would a city like that have that nickname, the Big Easy?
I don't know where that came from. It came out of one book a long time ago and then a movie. She's not easy and she didn't like everybody. So you have to submit. You really have to submit. You have to be careful to walk the tightrope because you could fall off very quickly and go into the dark side. I mean the dark side that'll kill you, not just the dark side of the few monsters here and there. But so much mental fantasy bleeds over into expectations of New Orleans that it becomes your dark side. You're looking for vampires. You're looking for this and that.
I'm sure you've seen people lose themselves, though.
Oh, God, yes.
Like
yeah,
even
I mean,
visitors, people that come to live.
Especially the ones that are cocky and come in and think they're going to take over. Their way is better, and they're going to try to plant that on top of.
But are you talking about the people that actually move there?
Yeah, they're the ones that I see, get taken over, get kicked out, gets chewed up and spit out.
When you say that, you mean literally, or
literally?
You mean...
Well, I mean they're not,
But like,
they're not in chewing
is there an addiction that happens? Is there?
Oh, there's a million other things, a million different things that can happen. Sure. Almost everyone has the ability to quickly become an alcoholic if they hadn't been before. That's one thing. But it's the whole overwhelming of the spirits that are there that people can't handle. I don't know.
So spirits are well alive.
Oh, yeah.
In New Orleans.
Yeah, and they know. They know that all you fools are going to be out there drinking yourself into oblivion on Bourbon Street. If they want to get a quick walk in, they can, and you won't even know it. And that's okay. They're not trying to hurt you. They're just feeling the flesh for a little while, and you're too drunk to even feel them. It's easier, that's all.
That's crazy.
I always tell people, hey, dudes, look up. We're a society that doesn't look up. They're there up on the balconies. They're looking at you while you're looking at them. Always walking down the street, Bourbon Street, walking down Bourbon Street inebriated, you may, they could just, with a quick feel of the flesh, come on in and then keep on walking by. I don't think that's dangerous. But yeah, a spirit could come over. It's not like a Linda Blair possession, In fact, in voodoo, as a voodoo priestess, you're asking the spirit to come in and dance with you. You're willingly asking for a quick exchange. And when they first start the mount, it's called getting tipsy. Because sometimes as a spirit's coming towards you, you might, push it away. And you kind of like a little bit tipsy. But the spirit would be able to eat the food and enjoy the music and the things of the flesh. Where you are getting fed information, a download from the spirit. And then there's a separation.
But
like ecstatic trance dance is what I'm talking about.
Okay. But your average person would never know that they are being
your average drunk person on the street who can't even walk wouldn't know.
Yeah, but most people, if they're not
there's a lot of
spiritually in tuned or practiced, if they don't have extensive hours practicing their spirituality, or knowing their spirit, then the moment they get drunk, most people are not going to know that they're being broken into by another spirit.
That's what I said. I said, walking down, it's a great place for spirits to hang out because most people down there are inebriated and they wouldn't know. It's not like they're not taking, I don't think that's harmful, but I do think that happens.
But I mean, that's subjective because...
It's not like, as I said, it's not like a Linda Blair thing. It's not like a full
But there's a lot of people
position.
that get drunk and do fucked up shit, or they don't even remember. And they're like, that wasn't me.
But it was. It was. You got yourself in that state to be vulnerable to not have your wits about you and choose that. You participated in that. Same thing with going back to the evil spirits that may have been buried underneath Madame LaLaurie's house. She can't say the devil made me do it and get away with it. She still did it. There was a part of her consciousness that was aware, and whether it was pure hatred or passion gone wild, whatever, she was still a willing. You have to keep yourself clean. and clean in a lot of ways, doing certain rituals and cleansings. And I do exorcisms and such too. You have to be clean. You know, sometimes you have to be celibate for a couple of days before you do service.
Days.
But you be clean before you do a working.
Yeah.
You know? So if I'm doing a heavy duty exorcism on Mr. A over here, you know, I got to have the energy and nothing that could have attached to me that would make me the vulnerable person to be jumped into after I did that cleansing. In fact, sometimes you have to have something else for it to jump into. Like if I do a ghost hunt at my place, which I do all the time, and I've done with people for 30 years, 10 years in this place and other places, other one, you know, I will open the gates and then I will close the gates at the end. I will brush things off people. And I don't tell them they have to be celibate before they come in, but I do try to tell them not to be drunk because then they can't. I have one spirit that would just jump in girls and they'd be crying and they'd be channeling and they didn't know how. They weren't ready for that, you know. So at first I might not have made them be sober. But when that kept happening, it's like, no, I've got to have y'all sober. And most professional ghost hunts do. Besides the fact you're in the dark and bumbling around, there's... hello, spirits! Spirits of the east, the spirits of air!
Out here all of a sudden. You had mentioned the word initiation.
Yes, any kind of initiation.
But
whether it's a baptism, whether it's an initiation for priesthood, whether it's a, you know, some form of cleansing.
But did you have to go through an initiation process?
Of course, yes. I was invited into several traditions. I am Voodoo Queen in New Orleans Voodoo. I had a previous queen and other Voodoo teachers, let's say. So there was baptisms and a form of initiation. And in that way, there was also a lot of apprenticeship. In Haitian Voodoo was an initiation that was like let's say, a week-long retreat of various rituals and cleansings and things. And in Congo, I'm a Yaya. So I'm a Mambo Asagwe. In Haitian Voodoo, I'm a Yaya Nakisi in Congo Voodoo. Voodoo Queen in New Orleans Voodoo. All invited and initiated in Yes. I'm a Mama Isi of the river because I work with the river and she called me directly. So that was a self-initiation. I can't initiate other people into that, but the river and I were calling, and there was a previous priestess there, Rose, who helped me.
Are these initiations
legal?
Scary?
No. Well,
are they empowering?
It depends on you. You know, like what you face is what you need to face when you're in there. So it's different for everybody. There's no scary, like horror, jump out at you kind of scary. You're kind of part of finding yourself, stripping down, facing things, doing things, honoring, making promises, baptism, cleansings, series of things. Just like all religions have to have some form of initiation to become, just like the wind is initiating us now. I call the wind. I usually do, by the way, call in all the directions of all the spirits before I do any kind of opening, especially a seance. And we call in all the spirits. We give the appropriate offering. And the spirit of the south is our dear friend here, the spirit of fire. So lights the way.
Tell me,
come to us today.
What have you learned about the darker side of spiritual communities that outsiders don't see?
Say it again, the dark side?
Yeah, like what have you learned about the darker side of spiritual communities that outsiders never see?
You talking about the humans?
Yes.
Or you're talking about the spirits? Okay,
human.
Just checking. Oh, you will see it. There's no way of not seeing it, but it's not all about love and light. You know, when the humanness of a person, especially a teacher or an elder, comes forth, it can be shattering. That this person who's been doing this so long is just so wrong, you know? But I always say that I have learned maybe more of what not to do from some teachers than what to do. You know, the mistakes that they've made, I've watched, I've seen.
Was that because of the outcome was so horrendous? You were just like, yeah, that's not it?
There was all kinds of reasons and things that I've seen like that. I don't like the politics of groups either in a lot of cases. And
Let's
again,
talk
back
about
to
it.
the jealousy and the backstabbing and things. And, like if you see on TV, it's not like, the witches are fighting the vampires or the vampires are fighting the werewolves. They're all infighting, and that's really disheartening. And the whole weakness of throwing curses at other people, thinking that perhaps their power will befall on you, is just childish and harmful to the world.
How do you weave through
Ah,
the bullshit?
it's not very easy. Oh, I've done it a long time, I guess. I suppose that's part of it. And being able to kind of see psychically.
Does that help?
Oh, hell yeah. Except, sometimes being very motherly and wanting to nurture gets in the way of what you see. But I don't like to be judgmental. But there are many people that I just don't need to have any dealings with.
You think somebody could say the same about yourself?
Not if they knew me.
Makes sense.
See, but I'm a different kind of person. I mean, I'm a person that's put on people's tours. I'll hear them talking about me and making up shit. I'm not even dead yet. And they've been for 20 years. I walk up to a tomb and they're talking about me. It's like, bus comes by my house. Buses go by my store pointing every day. They make up all kinds of stuff. Now, these people don't know me. I've never done any work with them. Mm-hmm. They might have seen me here or there. Mostly, but the whole thing is, well, if she wasn't here, I would get this attention. It's like, not necessarily. You don't know who it would go to, right?
Yeah.
I'd never go with a thing to take energy from other people in order to fill you. That's just very much against my belief system. You can create something of your own without having to take from others. I think it's a shortcut, but it's not really, because it doesn't last.
Tell me about, I know you said people driving by pointing. Talk to me about this haunted museum.
Now they got some major stuff to make up, because they got some competitive girl to put something in the newspaper that I was harming spirits by talking about them. Everybody talks about my story outside. I heard a couple people even put me into the murder-suicide, which I had nothing to do with, but there was a very famous, infamous murder-suicide inside that building, which put it on gave it a blood print and put it on the map. It had always had ghosts. It was always had a voodoo connection. A friend of mine, Priestess Miriam, had it as her spiritual temple for many years. There was a murder-suicide right after Katrina. Some consider it the last two Katrina victims. And they had died there. So I guess it freaked out people that they knew, people they partied with, people they drank, might be ghosts. So I'm holding there against their will. It's like, no, I'm not. In fact, I'm helping them.
Can you give me a short form summary of exactly what happened so that people...
Short is hard, but I'll try. Okay.
Zach ate 80.
He didn't eat her. That is...
No, I said 80. I'm trying to pronounce her name. Addie. I
But
wasn't saying he ate her.
A lot of people call him the Katrina Cannibal right outside my door. And spirits are pissed when you lie about them. They get angry. And I've seen the angry aftermath of things thrown around and things like that. The more lies, and they come up with some doozies, they get angry. So basically... This couple, they rode out the storm. They got 5 minutes of fame on CNN as they were looking for people to interview who were there. And they said they loved New Orleans and they were going to rebuild and never leave. And it's kind of what happened. Things were fine at first, but they rapidly got far worse. Things didn't get better quickly. We were under martial law. We were under curfew. People were going nuts. Plus, the dark side was running free. And there was no good spirits to balance it out. This wasn't evil, it was primordial, ancient, and hungry. Lots of sex, drugs, and rock and roll with the story. They were both bartenders in the French Quarter, and they were already kind of set off. Now, he had 2 tours in Iraq and Afghan, so PTSD was already a part of his life. But hers too, because her father was a Vietnam vet, so she kind of was on guard all the time. Rough time to fall in love and the wrong time to fall in love, but they did. Then they started fighting and breaking up and getting back together all while the city was deteriorating. The city that they loved fell apart around them. It was a dark time for everyone. So much anger. A year after the storm, we were still under martial law. We're still under curfew. Everybody's still drinking. Recreational drugs are pouring in. They're inferior, plentiful, and cheap. And that sets the tone. So they get kicked out of their apartment and moved into the new one, which is the little one that is part of the whole building that I had to rewire and rent when there was a fire there about 10 years ago. So instead of separate apartments, now it's all one unit, so to speak. So anyway, as soon as they got there, trouble followed. She went to get a lease because they didn't have a lease at the last one, and that was part of the trouble. But she got a lease only in her name, causing another fight. After all, it was his money, he said. You know? It's my money. I'll be out of the street again. She said, but you're cheating on me and with a man. And oh, God, back and forth this went. Landlord said, look, I don't want to get in the middle of this. Y'all work it out. And he never heard back. About 12, 13 days later, he heard back from the cops who said that they needed him to come down because they just found his tenant, Zachary Bowen, dead, who had jumped off the top of a nearby hotel. And it gave his address. So they went there. And the cops went in and found a grisly scene, right? And a note said, this is no accident. I had to take a life of the one that I took. If you send a patrol car to 826 North Rampart, you will find the corpse of my girlfriend, Addie, cooking on the stove and chilling in the fridge. Her head was boiling in one pot, her hands and feet were in another. Her arms and legs had been shoved in the broiler pan for nearly 13 days, set on slow cook, but he would turn it up, turn it down, add spices over the next couple of weeks. Torso neatly wrapped in a garbage bag. He continues.
Add spices?
He was allegedly masking the smell. He said, and I have all the original documents and I got all the kind of things from the cops, that he wanted to cook the meat off her bones and keep the bones. He did not eat her. There was an autopsy report in the newspaper. It said there were no human remains in his stomach. However, an unscrupulous History Channel show and a lot of tours of town will call him the Katrina Cannibal. One of the reasons I was so unpopular because I was taking her side. And most people were taking the wounded warrior side. Now, I take care of both of them and care for both their spirits. As caretakers of old buildings, you do that, right?
How are they taking his side, though?
Wounded warrior.
But that doesn't give you the right to cook somebody.
No, of course not. She was a bitch. Oh, she should have known better than to make a soldier angry. There was a lot of victim shaming going on.
That's terrible.
I refused to let podcasts or shows that were going to blame her do things. So they were mad, and I was taking her side because nobody was taking her side, and she was the victim. She didn't like to be called a victim, though. But she was stuck in the moment of death when I got there until her side of the story came out. She wants you to know that she was a poet and a dancer and more than just that. And she really was so adamant about saying that they really did have true love. So shamans sometimes take on spirits for years. It took a good 9 years for me to get the two main spirits that we were just talking about in this building. And most of the time it's one or the other. And she's gone more than she's there, but she comes back and forth. Occasionally they fight. Occasionally she's afraid. Sometimes they want to steal a kiss. It's like any actual relationship. Different things go on. But, he stayed for... Now, one thing that nobody seems to know about this story is they only lived there 36 hours. They didn't even unpack any boxes. This was not yet their home. They immediately got there, got a lease, killed her. That was it. So boxes were still unpacked. Some things were still left behind. They had lived in the other place that they had moved out at. And, there was just... He sat there 13 days and wrote and went out, got drugs and talked about him and drinking and came back and chopped her up some more and flipped her over. He was very neat, cleaned up most all of the blood and everything. The cops were shocked on how clean the kitchen was and, what was going on in the fridge. He went there night after night and he wrote about it. He spray painted on the wall and said, sorry I couldn't finish and I loved her and other things. It was a very tragic romantic tale and
did it ever say
not really romance,
Did it ever say how he initially killed her?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was quick. He said that was the only thing that was quick. They had a fight. He strangled her. He was 6'10". She was like 5'3", 5'4". It was a crime of passion, and then confusion, and then what to do, and more PTSD, and more drugs, and more liquor, and Was there a walk in here? I don't know. People have talked about it. Hey, wind. Yeah. No, it was a very sad. It shocked me. I was so sad. I went to the building the next day or the day after to see if Priestess Miriam was okay. Oh, people have twisted it, add her to the story. I even heard somebody saying, "Oh, I did something at the church to help with." I was like, what are you talking about? I had nothing to do with the story. I did not hang out with them. I didn't do drugs. It was a rough time. And again, I shouldn't say that's not as an excuse. It's just explaining the circumstance that was going on in the entire city, which wasn't very big at the time.
Right.
The French Quarter was almost the only thing that was back alive. And the spirit of place was kidnapped like all of our watchers were, and I took 3 years of banishings and exorcisms on people, places, and things to try to wake up what was and make it even better. It was horrible. And that was right when things were just starting to have a flicker of light. It was almost like, oh yeah, you think things are good? And then the Zack and Addie came across the newspaper. And I knew they were going to try to make that about voodoo just because of where it was. It had nothing to do with what was in that place. As I said, they hadn't even been there 36 hours. It was absolutely everything on what was out there, and followed them home.
Is there... I know you said you have all kind of people that make up these stories that involved you.
Oh, just
they're
people
just saying stuff, right?
Who knows what they're saying? Yeah, it's like, come on.
But do people believe that because
only competitors?
Okay, but
only
even competitors,
not just people on the street. Not my clients.
Are they saying things like you're exploiting what happened within that house?
That's one thing that I've heard.
Okay.
I said, should I be here and not talk about that ever and not acknowledge them? Now, how would that help? Should I only pay attention to certain spirits and not the others? I mean, that was a big part of our history, Katrina. They were a big part of that. I mean, everybody was going nuts around that time. We called it Katrina Crazy. And that story kind of scared straight a lot of people, like, whoa, that could have been me. It's a cautionary tale.
But I mean,
about drinking, about drugs, about facing your own demons when things happen. It's a cautionary tale, and it was very real. I knew them as bartenders.
I mean, you do have a tragic scene that happens in this haunted museum now that you've turned it into, but
there was ghosts there before.
Okay.
Lots of them. I have about 18.
But you even kept a stove?
I didn't do that.
What you mean you didn't do that?
I rent the place. It came with the place. Everything was there. 10 years of tenants lived there.
Kept it.
It's not mine. It's the landlord's. Okay, first of all, 10 years of tenants.
If there's a head in the stove.
10 years of tenants have lived up there and ate out of that stove and used that fridge. Way before I got there. Okay? There's no...
Say that one more time, because I want people to understand this.
10 years of tenants lived in that apartment, cooked in that oven, and used that fridge long before I got there.
And that was after the murder?
After the murder. Okay. Same oven, same fridge. I didn't move them. I didn't take them. I, on the other hand, have not plugged back in the stove. There's no gas coming to it or the fridge. They've turned into memorials that we give money and donate to stop domestic violence. So it's, it came with the place.
But I got to ask you a question.
Totally forget.
Do you advertise it?
Do I advertise? The
stove.
No.
With the head in it.
No, it's part of the story when I tell the story.
So that's advertising.
But I don't that's not an advertising, it's storytelling.
That comes along with the whole purpose of the place.
And 20 other people outside tell that other story in great and fictitious detail.
Okay.
I am not the only one that tells the story.
I'm not blaming you.
The whole city tells a story, but this is what I'm going to tell you from a spiritual point of view. Okay? Yeah, they came with the building. It had nothing to do with me.
Got you.
All right, you're going through this bad divorce, right? You get kicked out of your house, you got nothing. You're going to go out on a little vacation to try to clear your head. So you go to New Orleans, right? Take a ghost tour, you go to a museum, you eat at a couple places, You're trying to forget about stuff. You buy a couple of things while you're there. Maybe a voodoo doll here, maybe an African mask there, maybe, some kind of guitar over here. Who knows? And you go back home and you get a cheap apartment and you buy some used furniture and you put your stuff you bought in New Orleans. And you're really on a budget, so you buy a secondhand oven and a secondhand fridge and you put it in your place. All hell breaks loose with the spirits. What are you going to blame? Your trip to New Orleans, the voodoo doll, or your stove in your oven? Would it have been good to recycle those appliances and have somebody come take them away? And then unbeknownst, that person would get that. That's the state of what's going on.
I mean, if you buying something, you need to do the...
You're going to blame the voodoo.
You got to ask
the
what's
voodoo
the history.
doll. You're going to ask the history of the oven?
Where did it come from if it's used? Who was
You went
using
to a
it?
secondhand appliance store to buy where there's like 20 frickin' ovens, and you pick one. When the hauntings occur, you're not going to look to blame the oven or the fridge. What I'm saying is, this landlord would not have thrown them away. He would have sold them, and somebody else would have gotten them, and then some, and nobody would have understood the source. Psychically, they might say you got a creepy oven, but ooh, look at that voodoo doll, because of the predisposed beliefs.
That makes sense.
The oven and the fridge were relatively new appliances when this happened.
Do you believe the oven is haunted?
Yes.
Why
But
do you
I
think,
gave her something nicer.
But why do you think that?
Why
What did you have happen that?
All kinds of things.
But you're blaming it on the stove.
Well, because the stove's talking to me. I'm different.
What you mean? Stove is talking
Stove
to
saying, "Hi, Mary." A lot of people, when they walk in the kitchen, they just, not blaming the stove per se, but they just feel it, right? It's a very small kitchen. What's with the stove? They don't say, "Oh, there's a head in the stove." Well, first of all, it wasn't in the stove, it was on the stove. But they won't say that. But I will have K2 meters, go off. I will have little ghost boxes that say arm, leg, head. We'll have the REM pod in the back go off when we ask Addie a question and things like that. I also had a cadaver dog that came in, by the way.
What is that?
It's a dog that can sniff out body parts wherever they are. And came in the other side of the store, walked in, out the back door of the courtyard, walked all the way up to the oven and began to bark. Turned to the fridge, barks. Goes to the bathroom, sits around the bathtub, nothing. Comes back to the oven and barks. This was 10 years after. After 10 years of tenants had cooked and eaten in there. After the fact. And I never turned it on at all. Out of respect for her.
You talked about exorcisms.
Yeah.
You've been a part of them. You've done them.
Yeah. I'm a priest, okay? So as a priestess, I could baptize you, marry you, bury you, and any other rites that go along the way that are necessary. I am also, a psychic medium, and I do major cleansings and different rituals of exorcisms, if necessary, or banishings. I've done at least 5 exorcisms, which included Madame LaLaurie, who had jumped on people that I had to have them removed from them. So those are just a few. So you could do them on places, and the whole town needed it after that store. But I've done them situations like that too.
So how close are they to the movies?
Not at all. Not at all.
There's not people talking in different languages.
I have not had that. Some people say, "Oh, it's an obsession before it's a possession," if you want to get all nitpicky like the Catholic Church. But, all churches, all religions have forms of cleansings and exorcism, not just the Catholics, right?
So what's the most off-the-wall experience you've had with exorcism?
There was a lady that was starting to be extremely reclusive, okay? Like she didn't want to leave her house. She was afraid of everything, right? Everything. She was also obsessed with the LaLaurie mansion and had flirted her way in through some construction worker to get in there. And she had went up into the attic, and she took a nail and she took it home. And she put it by her windowsill in her, as she described, impeccably clean house and apartment. And that she was getting more and more afraid to leave her house. And she called me. She goes, I might need help. And I was like, well, how can I help you? She said, well, da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, I really want to go back. I don't know if it's her. I think I'm supposed to be the mouthpiece of her innocence. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Just listening. And, she's carrying on. Then she calls me back a few days later. And I said, oh, did things get better? She said, no. And I'm like, all right. I want to do a channeling session with you first to talk to her, validate who or what's going on, So I did. And it was pretty interesting, though she doesn't remember it. But what the final straw was, the nail that, sorry, I gotta go backtrack. The nail that she had taken, which I have in an iron box under an iron key in my museum. The nail by the windowsill in that clean apartment started to attract flies. More and more flies were just circling around this iron nail, which had no foodstuffs or, anything to attract. And, flies sometimes can be associated with demonic activity.
It's like the movie The Exorcist.
Yeah. Did they have a lot of flies?
Pretty sure.
Frankly, they're not really flies. They look like flies, but their legs are longer, but that's a different story. And they're kind of like flies, all right? So anyway, I said, okay, put it in a box with some salt without touching it and bring it to me when you come. I'll take care of it. I'll put it away so it can't bother anybody, right? So I did my thing. She brought it to me. I said, let's do this channeling for it. So I asked her questions, and I had some deep research because I helped the biographer, and I had some family research. And some things she knew, sometimes she didn't. She wasn't that cognizant during the channeling of LaLaurie, who was supposedly in her, right?
Allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, I part of her was. There was definitely an attachment, whether it wasn't like Linda Blair, right? But she was getting to that reclusive state. She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't leave her place. It was getting dangerous, getting closer. So I wanted to get rid of the source, which was, I guess, the nail. So then I asked her a couple of questions, and then the end is what was interesting about her. She said, don't let this girl go there anymore. The house is... Heard that?
That was him.
That was you? Oh, too bad. The house has seen her. The house knows about her. And the house is going to make her do something bad. And what Madame LaLaurie was saying was the house made me do
This
it.
came through channeling through her.
She was in her, supposedly, right? So I channeled with her, facilitated talking to LaLaurie through the girl that she was attached to with the nail in hand, right? The nail that was taken out of the attic. Mm-hmm. That was the source that was doing this. And Madame LaLaurie said, it's the house that made me do it. And it's the house that can make anyone do it. Keep her away. Closed the gates and left. Told her to take a salt bath, take 2 aspirins, call me in the morning. And it was okay. But there was some others that, people that snuck in there that thought it would be a good idea to do an exorcism, or not an exorcism. They thought it would be a good idea to try to release the slaves. Mind you, the person that went in had never done an exorcism before. She had never done a banishing. She just thought it would be nice. Well, she got in there on her first try to take the slaves, if they were still even there, away from Madame LaLaurie and cross them over. Well, that was not appreciated too much by the house or Madame LaLaurie, whoever it was. The house that was fed with the dead bodies of the prisoners below, right? And I don't know, her dogs start getting sick. All of her bookings start breaking. You become like a bad luck charm to everybody around you. You get sick. Other people get sick around you. It becomes like a contagion thing, right? So then she had 2 other friends that had also been up there at the same time, and I had to do all 3 of them. And it was, we did some fire and brimstone stuff, and I burnt a few things. I did and a candle, and the glass shattered into 1,000 pieces. And I was like, you don't need that here. And I took all the pieces and I put them in a cloth. I said, I'm going to get rid of them. I'm going to get rid of them away from here. It went into this, right? And so I left. I walked to my car. The second I slammed the door with those things in my hand, and this is saying a lot by New Orleans standards, the most torrential downpour of rain came like in a split second. No leading up to it, just It's like, oh God, I get it. You're gonna mess with me, And so I'm going home and I'm trying to see, and it's like, maybe I should pull over. I said I should get rid of this first. I was like, damn, I missed that dumpster. I said I should get it farther away. So I'm driving home and I'm trying, and it's really hard to see, and I'm like, fuck, she's gonna kill me. I said I'm gonna have to pull over. So I go into, I don't know where I went, a nearby church or nearby cemetery, and I throw the glass away into a place that I know had been blessed, sacred ground, right? And then I tried to make it home, and it got worse, and the water was coming up to the wheels, and I'm trying to make it there. I'm like, you're not gonna do this. I built that house. Finally, I get to my house, open the door, and there's a drain right there, and everything's whooshing in it because there's so much water. And I walk out, and cell phone drops, and I watch it go down the drain. It's like, son of a bitch. It's like, ha, you got my phone. I said, you owe me a phone. That's what I said. I said, you owe me a phone. Went in, took a salt bath, whatnot. People were getting better. They were all okay now. I got that off of them. It was 3 or 4 of them. I went in the next night. I think I had a tour, and I went to LaLaurie's, and I was going to say, I'm not going to be afraid of you. The other girl was afraid to go to the house. And there's this ratty, old, stupid flip phone sitting right there. I said, that will not do. It was a brand new iPhone. I want the damn iPhone. I don't want the flip phone. But there was this old, thrown away one right there. And I'm like, ha ha. So spirits could be kind of funny. And annoying. But she was trying to kill me, but it's okay.
So you've done exorcisms.
And sometimes it's just a random spirit of somebody calling me saying I'm cursed or something's in the house. And, most of the time I can just talk to the spirit in the house and balance it all out. But sometimes, I have to tell them to cut things off and do certain things.
Yeah.
If it's far away.
How do you differentiate a spiritual attack compared to a mental illness?
Oh, well, first we try to find out if there are mental illnesses. Are you on meds? Have you ever been on meds? What do they say? Why are you on meds? Now, the thing about that is, just because you have a mental illness doesn't mean you still can't be attacked. So you have to kind of judge a little bit of both. And I had someone like that. Oh, they tell me not to do this because I've had mental illness before. But I know I'm silly. I said, I can teach you. And he was very grateful that I didn't treat him like he was mentally ill. And he wasn't getting possessed. He just wanted to deal with the spirit world because he was getting dreams and things. Can we take a break for 2 seconds?
Of course. Say what?
And I said I do more voodoo weddings than anything, but I've done a few funerals and a couple of exorcisms. I'll do it all.
We rolling. What does a voodoo wedding look like?
Depends on the people in it. It can look any way they want. Well, I'm a voodoo priestess, and I have the rights within the city and the state to perform weddings. So I call the spirits. I make a voodoo altar, usually with the goddess of love. Occasionally, since so many people want to do it in October, we'll have the Baron Semity and Mama Bridget as the spirit source, the mother and father of the bones looking over. I do always have an ancestral section in the weddings, calling the ghosts the previous friends and family, or even sometimes their pets, who want to come forth to be part of the services.
Where they can actually sit?
I have an altar that I have food for them, and sometimes I have a bowl for them, and we have a glass of champagne that we put out. So I don't have too many chairs, but occasionally. It depends on how far they want to go with it, but I like to have an altar with the ancestors and the pictures and things like that, People are wanting to do that in a lot of ceremonies. So I have an ancestral section. Hold on. Itchy nose. I do a lot of nature out in the woods under the beautiful oaks with the moss hanging. So I have a lot of nature-based services. Mm-hmm. So it could look very beautiful. A lot of candles outside in a courtyard, or we could be under the trees, or, even in the graveyards, I'll have small renewals and things.
Gotcha.
And I've been doing those for over 30 years, so.
Okay, so we talking
I'm
about...
recognized by the state, yes, as an official priestess.
Talking about voodoo.
Yes.
Voodoo dolls.
Yes. Effigies.
Movies specifically have given this a complete
First of all, every doll, I'm sorry. First of all, every religion, every country, everywhere has some form of doll in their background. The Hollywood has always given it the evil and, for I'm sure racial reasons, tried to make it all dark, Pins to only hurt. Now, even though people are desperately trying to whitewash that, and I did too some 30 years ago, the doll is just an innocent bystander. The doll is the effigy. Until you wake it, until it becomes someone or something, it is just a blank. It could be for healing, that you put a pin in a certain area to focus, to put herbs there that do the healing, to attach it to the person with hair, nails, and the breath of life. We wake it. I use voodoo dolls in my weddings all the time. I have 2 of the bride and the groom. I use the same hand-fasting cords that we tie them together with promises, tie them back together. They may jump the broom with them. And the first kiss as man and wife, I have them save the breath and breathe it into the doll to keep that young love active in it, and to keep them somewhere in the house where they feed them monthly with champagne or food or things to remember and to keep that young love active. So the doll is your effigy. It could be for protection. I have one in my car so I don't get pulled over and I don't, get stuck in traffic. So I got a car doll and I got a house doll, and we got protectors or guards at the front door and the back door, so they could be made to guard. They could be made for love or sex and tied under your bed. I mean, there's different things that they can be. They're effigies. They're blanks.
You got a car doll.
I got a car doll.
You got a house dog or a house doll.
Couple in my house, many in my house.
For protection.
Usually for protection. Whatever you have, including your little skull guys up here. Whatever you have that has a face, you should give it a name. Something's going to jump in it. You might as well claim it what it's going to do.
So I should give these 2 guys a name.
Yeah, I should definitely name them and say, hi, Mutt and Jeff or whatever the hell you're going to call them, and give them some coffee. Wake their asses up. Coffee in the morning is a great offering for the spirits, and it's simple, but it's what they would have done. So basically, it is simply an effigy that is made for a purpose. You might sign deals between people and tribes if there was a doll. Some people had one doll that would house a helper. Now, I make a lot of dolls in Marie Laveau's house. I had them lining the wall. I have a whole wall of altars going the whole length of the place. Different rooms, different areas, different things.
What are you making these dolls out of?
In New Orleans, the main ingredient would be Spanish moss that was hung from the trees, which was tree hair, which was like the nest of new life. So I also make some porcelain dolls too, because that's my haunted doll aspect. So I have dolls that I might wake up and have them as guards, and I have them on the different places all over. I had some dolls that ended up becoming the toys of the ghost children there that I didn't even know were there at first, but they liked the dolls, so I kept bringing more. But I make dolls. I have a voodoo doll bar of blanks where we have people put their own intentions and energies in them, herbs inside. And if they use pins, when you use pins, most people use pins to pinpoint something on a board, right? You could use pins or needles for acupuncture to wake up something on an area. You can target a afflicted area for healing, or you could sit there and go and be like a psycho.
Have you seen people do this at these?
People ask about that when they come in. It's always like, oh, I want to do this to my boyfriend. That I want to get rid of my boss.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
I think that's.
And I tell them no. I said, what do you really want? Well, I want this promotion. I said, let's do something to get you that promotion.
Forget the promotion.
You don't want the promotion. You want to hurt him.
No, I want to talk about the people that have ill intent when they come to you with these dolls.
I talk them out. This is what you want to do, but what is it that you actually want?
Yeah, I get that.
Have
you seen people actually cause pain to the doll that they are, I guess,
the doll,
which would be the
everyone
the partner.
Wants to do that. I try to talk about it.
But does it work?
Not in the direct sense of homeopathic or sympathetic magic that I'm going to poke you here and you're going to get poked there.
Because,
it doesn't work like that.
You ever seen the movie with Chucky?
Yeah, I got Chucky in there, yeah.
And he's like, hey, I'm going to need you to roll this clip for me. There's a clip where Chucky breaks the dude's leg. I need you to roll that clip for me because I want people to see how hilarious that part is. But he snaps a guy's leg and the guy's leg actually snaps. It doesn't work like that.
No. Doesn't mean it can't cause problems. I would find voodoo dolls, let's say, in graveyards and find, sometimes voodoo dolls in front of your place and you've got to undo it. So somebody might just tie you up so that you're all restrained. If you want to, like, for example, if I give it to lovers or something, it's like, put some perfume on it if you're in the mood. If you're fighting, throw it in the freezer, cool it down. So in that way, the sympathetic homeopathic can work.
See, but
it doesn't mean you can't cause pain. It just means if I stick a pin here, you're not going to feel it here. Okay? The idea is I don't know. I mean,
but this all seems symbolic.
Yeah.
Like you said, okay, if you're in a heated argument and you throw it in the freezer, that's a symbol that you need to cool down, that you need to relax, that you need to
hopefully
take
it would
a break.
Cool the situation down in the house too. But you can also sprinkle rosemary on the floor so somebody walks through it. There's lots of ways to cool things down or heat them up. You want to have a lot of hot sex? I mean, you do something else with it. Maybe put some different things on it. Scents. Love scents.
Do you think these things only work because
sexual fluids go in those dolls a lot?
That's ridiculous.
No,
but
that's very true.
But
do
you think these things work because of the belief that's instilled in them? Because I believe
that fear can do a lot of things, but I also think there's a lot of things that the magic can do. I think it's both. Most of the time when somebody is getting a true working on them, they don't have the said object, the doll, the gree-gree, the spell in hand. They may fear, and everybody fears. Oh, God, I'm so sick of, my husband's with his woman because she put a spell on me. It's like, no, he's not. He's just cheating on you. Could that other woman have been putting a spell on her? Possibly. But more likely, he's cheating on her. Not because he
that doesn't prove the fact that, because if I create a voodoo doll and I'm like, okay, I'm going to prove Bloody Mary wrong, that none of this shit works, and I'm going to create this doll for a guy that I work with, and I do some harmful things to it, or let's just take it the other route. I do some good things to it, and I want great things to happen to him. And they never happen, but my intent was shit. Does that...
Your intent was shit. Speaking of that, people do rub a lot of that on dolls. Okay. I don't, but there's certain people that want, just shit to happen and use it.
But do you think these things actually happen because the belief...
the belief would have to mean that the person that they did it knew that it was going on, and they don't. So how could the belief be the one that does it if they don't know? You don't know that.
Okay, well then what is when somebody puts
I could heal. I think you could heal through dolls. I think you could get messages through. I think they could talk. I think they could protect. I do think that they are part of that. It's like having a holy statue or a medal or a talisman or a doll or a bone or whatever the juju is that has the animal medicine. I got a juju right here for you.
But what about, witchcraft, right? Like somebody puts a hex on somebody. I don't want to touch that.
You said you didn't have raccoons here, but I do.
What is this? What kind of bone is this?
You wouldn't have laughed.
I don't know what kind of bone this is.
Oh, it's a raccoon penis bone.
Why you got me touching her?
Because you said they weren't raccoons here, but you were wrong.
She got
I had one with me. I also got a rabbit foot. I got a rabbit foot. What else I got? I got my
Get this out my hands, though.
This is to get you paid and laid.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe she just had me touch a raccoon dick bone.
I sell a lot of them, okay?
What is that used for?
I just told you.
To get you laid?
Paid and laid.
Oh, paid and laid?
Paid and
so
laid.
That's a double whammy.
Musicians was a big thing. Musicians had them.
So raccoon dick bone is a double whammy.
It is definitely a good thing as my protector.
There's some people that want to get paid and laid, so they need to get a raccoon dick bone.
Well, it was a thing that musicians would put them in their hat band, and they're used by people in the country for the stills and for money. You would carry it for prosperity and bringing things in. And then the rabbit foot. Well, we could say it's for luck.
So
but it wasn't.
when you got that, you asked for that?
Did I ask?
How do you even know raccoon dick bones exist?
Because that's just part of the a bone is a juju. It contains the medicine of the animal. Raccoon. That's what they're known for. I mean, you learn these things and you use them and you put them in your gree bag or your pouch. This is, I sell a lot of.
So you got bones all in that bag.
Just
don't worry about it.
Not that many. I've got the ones I showed you. Rabbit foot, got a raccoon bone, probably have a little gator bone. I have a bigger bag with a lot more stuff, but that was just my not to annoy the TSA too much, but to have something with you.
Do they ever question you in the airport with that?
Sometimes. They have with a gree before. Not with the bones, with a gree. It's like, don't touch that. I don't want your TSAA on there. Sometimes, but I always, there was one dumb, well, I shouldn't say dumb. I could say it. Dumb priest or priestess who wanted to put a spell on me once. And they always do. I'm like, my car was parked right in front of the place at the time. And somebody had went and bought 2 chicken wings, okay, and placed them directly in front of both of my tires so that I would run them. They weren't even like hot wings or anything. They were raw, store-bought chicken wings, not a bloody chicken wing from a sacrifice. Just look at that. It's like, yeah, so I'm going to drive over it and they're going to stop me from moving, the symbology, stop me from flying, whatever the hell their intention was. I kicked them out of the way. But it still aggravated me that somebody was going to be that dumb,
That was voodoo?
Voodoo, hoodoo, conjure, hoodoo. The folk magic component that surrounds a religion in New Orleans was called hoodoo. Not everywhere. Some places it was called conjure. Some places it was called, different things. But in New Orleans, it was hoodoo. And then voodoo, we have our own voodoo. There's lots of different people's voodoo that comes to New Orleans, but it's not New Orleans voodoo.
Let's talk about that. What's the difference?
Well, just like there's various forms of Christianity, Methodist, Baptist, Lutheran, whatever, Catholic. There's many types of voodoo. Usually it went sort of tribe by tribe. Each tribe there was not united tribes in Africa. So tribal beliefs, tribal spirits, tribal heroes, ancestors, would have been one tribe and how they contacted, worshipped, and believed. Different tribes had different ways. Some were warring tribes and learned from each other or captured the others and intermarried. And then there was a little bit of that in that, so it was different.
But is there a difference between something that originated in New Orleans compared to imported?
Well, no. All voodoo came from Africa.
Okay.
All voodoo came with the slave trade. But not everybody got every tribe. So specific tribes, more or likely, came to New Orleans, combined with the spirit of place that was there, and practiced voodoo openly. It grew more openly at Congo Square and with different people practicing. So it developed differently than a lot of other places. Growing side by side with the colony, these customs became part of New Orleans culture. So it's in our food, in our customs, in our music, things you grew up with as a child when they're why, what, where. I made it my business to try to find as much of the root. Now, European magic was very much a part of it. Catholicism was very much a part of it in that Latin Catholic area known as New Orleans. Not all of Louisiana. The port that was used to things coming in and out, not landlocked Louisiana, had a voodoo that developed and was practiced openly. Now, some of the same tribes went from Africa, let's say, to Haiti. But a different tribe sent or sold slaves to Cuba. So different ones went to different areas, absorbing the spirit of place that they were and affecting the culture. Most of them emerged through revolution and such. We were kind of the opposite. It was up and out for everyone to dabble in from the beginning, even though they were all good Catholics. And it went underground after the 20th century, and slowly but surely, pretty much after 1920s, 30s. It was out and aware, and everybody was changing. New Orleans was predominantly female. Historically, as far as their voodoo, which made things develop differently. So there was the queen that was the more important, or the queens. Because once you're the queen, you're the queens, you're all of them, and still have the dance with the snake, mainly female, was political, and it was mixed from the very beginning, but that's because we were. Everybody there intermarried much early on, even though you couldn't have an official marriage in the Catholic Church historically, pre-Civil War, even after that for a little while. These liaisons occurred. Even though there was particular rules against certain things, they still occurred. Like the drumming and the dancing out in public at the open market, which was the first tourist spot in the South. There's no such thing as an observer. Once you're there, once you're an observer participant. Just your being there and being that it's open affect the development. Affect the spirits can just as much say hello to you in a ritual when you're calling them and dance with you as it can with the head priest. Now, hoodoo's the practice. If you want to compare it to Catholicism, you got voodoo being the high mass that you're serving the spirits and, more ceremonial, and you got hoodoo being the folk magic or the part like the novena.
What would you say speaking in tongues is considered?
Well, you probably heard the words first from Catholics, but in voodoo it's called speaking the language. It's the language of the spirits, which may or may not be of a particular dialect or might be something you're just saying. But, I have spoken tongues. I don't have the understanding of tongues that someone has different gifts. But if you just chattel and let the sounds come up, it could be the voice of the angels,
So it's almost like a transmediumship. You think something's speaking directly through you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I don't sit there and think about the spirit, and I get the gist of it, but I don't have a literal translation of it.
Understood.
And it's been years since I did it in that way.
Speaking of religion.
Yes, we are.
I want to be very cautious with how I ask this.
Okay.
And it's not just with you, it's for anybody watching and listening.
Okay, you can ask it, and I know what it's going to be about, but go ahead.
No. Not about the Bible.
No, not
something
not
much worse.
Worse than the Bible?
Well, not like that, but sorry. I did not mean it like that.
See, so I had to be careful. He was right.
Yes, I got to be careful with what I'm about to say. How often, or do you even think this happens? And if you do think it happens, then how often do sacrifices go down in different religions?
I guess it depends on what you mean by that. So what you want to know is about blood sacrifice, because sacrifices are part of every religion. And sacrifice only means to make sacred. That's what the definition of the word is.
Physical sacrifice.
Physical sacrifice of a chicken?
Of any living being.
We will not sacrifice you. There is no human sacrifice. Human sacrifice.
I'm sure there is, though.
Probably in some of these cults or something. I have no idea. Many years ago, in certain belief systems, thousands of years ago, Mayan, Aztec, African, probably whatever was here. Does it go on now? I certainly hope not.
As we say, does. Don't say it doesn't.
No, I don't know of anyone that does or has, okay?
No one out of the entire time you've been doing this.
Oh, no, not at all. I would have kicked their ass and gotten them arrested. No. That's crazy, people. First, you got to realize that religions, unfortunately, are made out of humans. And there's a lot of bad humans, right? These are not the teachings on the books of any religion. From what I understand, not even Satanism, if that's where you're going. But
no, I don't.
Whether these things are going on to gain power in politics as people are, intimating on recent things that are in the news and all that. It has been rumored for quite some time. I mean, I wouldn't know any people like that, literally. I don't know any cults. I don't know any, anything like that. It is definitely not a part of any witchcraft rituals or anything that I know of. And I look,
Okay, let's take a step back then. What about animals?
Animals are
sacrificing animals.
Okay, yes, in certain religions, absolutely are. Usually in voodoo, the chicken is cooked and eaten and shared.
Even like lamb.
Yeah.
I've seen lamb
Yeah,
before.
they
done.
will sometimes eat them, make a stew, make a barbecue or something. You're sharing food with the spirits. However, if there's certain things like maybe you're taking a sickness out of a person or a curse out of a person and it's going into an animal, then you shouldn't eat it. But if you want to feed it to the gators, or feed it to something else, you can.
Do you think in order to get something out of the universe, you have to give some sort of sacrifice? Doesn't have to be a
Yes.
physical blood sacrifice,
Right.
but some sacrifice has to give.
Yes, like right now, if you're, for example, how big of a secret is your goal? You talk about it all the time.
We can talk about it.
If you want to open up your horror Adventureland,
Mm-hmm.
you probably have to give up something to make room for it.
Mm.
If you do not, the world will do it for you, and it might not be what you want to give up. So it is always suggested to make a sacrifice, which really only means to make sacred. Whether that sacrifice is giving food to the ancestors at a graveyard, if it's doing cleansing on the body, if it's just getting rid of some bad habits that are taking a lot of your time, or even people sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't mean sacrificing. It means, get them out of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, I recently had something like that go on with a couple of employees. I mean, as long as they were there, it was causing more downfall. They had to go. And nature kind of took care of that.
I think a lot of people would agree that there's maybe someone close to them that is truly bringing them down and they need to separate themselves, which is technically a sacrifice.
You have to. Yeah, because it only means to make sacred. You don't have to harm. You have to get rid of something in order to make room. I always do purgings at birthdays, before the weddings, all the things, all your bad habits, all the things you don't want. Write them all down. Get rid of them now. State them, name them before something else gets taken from you that you do want. Think of what you can get rid of and think of what you don't want and try to get rid of them. So you purge. There's a lot of purging that needs to be done. I was told a long time ago, well, first of all, let's put it this way. Historically, some of the reasons that you were given a pet, like in the 1800s.
A pet.
A pet.
A pet.
A bird, a cat.
A pet, yeah, okay, got you.
Because it was truly believed that they would love you and they would take the hit for you if something was coming to get you. So that would have been a sacrifice. It would have been the purpose. Sometimes they'd take that pet and put it by you, rub it on you, so what you had, it would get, killing it.
Speaking of what you just said, pets, let's talk about cats specifically. A lot of people own cats.
I have a cat.
Okay. And people say
She's a
that
bitch.
they can see into the spiritual realm, that they can protect you.
My cat that I had for 22 years, she was definitely my spirit guide. Losing her was losing a large chunk of my protection and having to readjust everything. She did everything.
What do you think their purpose is as far as cats?
Well, Edgar Casey thinks they're physically healing and they came here just to heal us.
There's a lot of people out here with cats that are like you. They feel like it's their
I'll tell you the story.
their protector.
It was after Katrina and there was this primordial thing that was jumping on people. By the way, it was, from my easiest explanation of it, it was a haint. And it was ancient. It was like a giant parasite. It takes a lot of explanation that I don't necessarily have time for. But it was in a whole bunch of people, and I could see it on them from miles away, and there's tons of them. And this went on for 3 years after Katrina. There was this one guy, my husband worked with him, and I don't know, he got kicked out of his apartment, and he wanted him to stay at the house. And I really didn't want him to stay at the house because I could see this on him. Plus, he did drugs. It was just not going to be good. But my husband was insistent, so I was like, all right, my son was going out of town, and I didn't want him, but he was going to stay in my kid's room. So I went in to go change the room, and I was angry, right? And I go in the room, and the damn light bulb explodes, and I'm like, fuck you. You're not going to, to this thing. It's like, you're not going to mess with me. You're not going to make me do this. You're getting out of my house. So again, I pick up all the glass carefully, and I put it in a some kind of cloth, and I get up on the ladder, which was probably dumb at that point, to unscrew what was left of the light bulb. I put it in my hand, and I'm going to go get rid of it. I want it out of the house. Well, by the time I walked to the front door, and I have a pretty long house, that me touching that glass had already gotten in and through me. And I was going to go throw it outside, but I was like, no, I better go get it far away from the house. So I'm walking down the block, and I'm not alone at this point. I'm with this thing is on me and in my hand. And I'm walking faster and faster towards the crossroads because I want to throw it in the crossroads. But there's cars coming. But I was no longer just me. And I'm walking faster and faster with this damn thing in my hand. And I'm going to walk into traffic. I kind of, on one hand, know that. But on one hand, I'm not really myself anymore. And I get all the way out there and I hear behind me, meow, meow, meow. The cat follows me the whole block. Finally, after screaming in my ear without, like I was like somewhere else and she was muffled in another dimension. By the time I didn't really hear her till I got to the corner, I was about ready to walk in the street and she's like, meow. And I'm like, that's why my cat saved my life. That was one thing that she did. Saw a dumpster across the street, went through it, went home, everything was fine. So get rid of that stuff when it comes in. There was all kind of banishings and exorcisms. I met Mothman one night on that. I didn't even know who the hell Mothman was 20 years ago till he came in my bedroom and he wasn't trying to have sex with me. And he is a good guy.
Mothman or Hat Man?
No, Mothman. I got a Hat Man too, but I'll show you.
What is Mothman?
You don't know Mothman?
Explain to me, what is Mothman?
Big giant moth?
So it's a moth that's a man? Half man, half
Well, there's
moth?
like this, no, not like fly. No, I don't know. He seems to pop up at certain disasters. I forget do you know Mothman? What city was it that he was so big in? Indiana.
But what is Mothman? What is he?
No one really knew where he was from. What was giant insectoid, let's say.
Okay.
But I hadn't seen the movie. I think it just came out 20 years ago. It was Katrina. I was doing rituals nonstop. Besides fighting this thing, I was trying to revive certain architects and ancient ones to come back and revive the spirit of place, to wake back up the river, to get the architects with me. So anyway, I was the anniversary. I had some witches in town, and we went to go do a ritual out at the lake, which included some animal calls and things that Marie used to do. We all did it. We did a blessing and we did offerings, and we sat out there each of us calling these animals and screaming into the winds, and I was pleading for help of all the dimensions. I had an angel that came and a few others that came. But this night, I was asleep, and I kind of wake up, and I don't know where I am. I'm in something. I'm in some kind of shroud, some kind of shell. I don't know. And I'm looking, and I'm like, and I go like that. And I look at my hand, and I've got like this silvery dust kind of all over my finger. Then I feel something reach down and kiss my forehead very gently, and then opens the covering, which was the big giant wings, and which made this gigantic shadow in my room of what looked like archangel wings, and out the room. Sorry. And I thought, well, is that an angel? What was that? I did a calling through all the dimensions and all the four corners through the animal calls to helpers to come in and aid the whole city. And that was one of the responses. And I was telling this girl I was working with psychic the next day. She goes, well, that sounds more like a moth if you had that stuff on your finger. And I was like, and it was soft and velvety, and then the huge shadow with the wings. And I was like, okay. But I never still had heard of Mothman. But he was in response to call from a disaster, which is what Mothman has done before. So he popped out in my bedroom.
Okay, so my question would be
I have a very active interdimensional life.
When you're calling upon things,
Mm-hmm.
how the hell do you know what is actually going to come through?
Oh, well, I didn't know that. Because of my the power because of what I was calling it for. I had an angel that came through. They were very annoying. I also 3 angels actually burst through some mirrors, and so I had some angels that came. I had that. There was a part of a tribal thing that Marie Laveau had done with some animals. So I always do these particular calls in a certain way at rituals at the lake and the waters for the spirits to come through, and I work with the waters a lot. So I was calling on helpers. I was not prejudiced on who or where they came from. Just people that had our back, helpers. I mean, I had Jewish friends that were helping me do religious. I used biblical rituals. I used voodoo rituals. I used, oh God, what else? I had some witches that did something. I had people just all over the place. Everywhere that I could get to get through. Because the whole town was flatlined like a ghost town. There was no heartbeat. There was nothing that people could see. And I have a lot of people that I know that don't believe in ghosts, And after Katrina, I saw a lot of people, and you're excited to see them, even if they weren't your friends. Oh, you're live, So I was in this bar that my husband used to play pool at, where I knew this girl, and I knew she was a scientist, and I knew she didn't believe in ghosts, So she comes up to me, and she's like, "Where'd they go?" And I said, "Who?" She said, "The ghosts." I said, "I thought you didn't believe in ghosts." She's like, "I know when they're gone." So she didn't know till the absence of spirit energy in the town that is what it was.
But to know that they're gone means you have to know that they were there.
Right. So this is what she said.
Okay.
So I was like, interesting if that, but she felt the absence of what she couldn't identify in normal times.
Right.
And she's like, "And what about their eyes?" And I said, "You noticed that too?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, that's the hang."
Yeah.
Because it had no eyes, but yet it had thousands because it had all of the ones it attached to. It woke me up one night. I was sleeping, and this time it wasn't an incubus or a succubus. Something had gotten in the bed, and I knew it was there. I don't know if I felt it. I don't know if I heard it. But one of the few times that I didn't just take my hand and go like that. And I looked, and it looked back at me, but it had no eyes. And I stared at it anyway, and I knew what it was thinking. And it was a different life form. It was not anthropomorphied. It was not human-like or even demonic-like. This was like the blob, okay? Came out from under my bed, which was.
Did you hear it?
Yeah. Come on over here. That's the Rougarou. It came up out of I got 8 feet of water in my house in Katrina. The whole downstairs had still been gutted at this point when I finally got back in the house. This thing oozed up from the floorboards, through the floorboards, and got on my bed, and it was going bleh, bleh, bleh. And I looked at it, and that was the only time that I got up and ran. Because I knew if it touched me, if it got on me in any way, shape, or form, that it would have been in me. And that was the beginning of a 3-year battle. And that's why I called whoever, wherever, and most people wanted to help.
I want to touch on this cat thing one more time. Something was bothering me.
Back to the cats.
Something was bothering me because there are people, when you walk into a house, a cat will literally hiss at.
Cats can get possessed too. I've had a dealing with that as well. I had to exercise it. It is possible. Sometimes, like you think of werewolf, there's werelings, and animals can be it. Now, here's a story. Another story. I had a friend, and his father had died, and he lost his job, and he was very sad, and he killed himself. Unfortunately, he killed himself outside of a glass window, ceremonially, where my ex-husband was watching. And I guess his wife at the time. And, he was like, I have to go see what he's doing. And she's like, "Oh, no, he's doing performance art. He's doing performance art." And he's like, "I don't think that was performance art," because he had a gun and he had the ceremonial thing. So they bickered about it for a little bit, and he went outside. And they said, "No, he killed himself. He's dead." So nobody knew what to do, and they took the body out, whatever. So they called me to come in, and if I could break down the altar that he built for his death. We're like, all right. I mean, he was a friend, and I didn't exactly know what to do with the suicidal, you know. I called a few people. It's like, do you think there's something I should specifically do? You know, cleanse the area, salt the area, take the blood-soaked fabric out of there. Yes, I did that. I did a blessing on there, and I left, and I got rid of it later. And the woman called back. She's like, Mary, she goes, there's a cat here. Oh, my husband called back. He said, there's a cat here, and my wife, she wants to like feed it and take care of it, but he's like, I don't believe in this shit, but that cat's evil. He's like, it's evil. It's got fangs. It's dripping from its nose. It's not right. Can you come do something? It's like, all right, I don't know what to do, but I'll come over there. And this cat's all, and it's in the area where he killed himself, like on the spot, and he wasn't moving from that spot like for days. It was zombified cat, you know. I was like, all right, I'm going to have to do some kind of banishing. So I did a banishing, and I got it. You know, this is the cat, and you can't be in there. I command you, and I did all kind of stuff with holy water and with some other things, and what you're supposed to do, and what Jesus did. You banish it into something else. So I said, I'm going to banish it, you like this, into a lizard. All right? I wanted a lesser form of something that wouldn't live as long, wouldn't be able to have as much danger to someone else, right? Lizard probably dies in a week. I don't know. So, you know, I did that, and I said, into the lizard, blah, 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 and I left. The cat left, and then the wife called and said, there's this really scary lizard that's staying there, and it was there for quite some time till it finally went away.
Hold on. Where did you get the lizard from?
The garden. I didn't. That's the thing. I just knew there'd probably be a nearby lizard or a nearby squirrel, which sometimes I put cancer into. If there was a nearby lizard in the garden, there was a whole big garden out there. So I left, and the lizard appeared and stayed in that same spot where he killed himself.
We talked about this a little earlier. Where did the word demon come from?
Oh, daemon, D-A-E-M-O-N. It was kind of a catch-all word for all other entities not human. So they might have had demons in there, fairies, whatever else that you want to put would have all been in demons. It wasn't like good and evil. It wasn't broken down that way.
So daemon wasn't always a bad thing?
Right. And it still might not be now. I don't necessarily deal with them, but I have occasionally encountered them because if you're working between the worlds, there are many things that are out there. You know, they're not out for you on a mission. They're not going to bother you. You know, some people work with them very well, like Solomon, you know.
Work with daemons or demons?
Demons. Most people work with daemons without knowing it, but demons, you know, there's a lot of people, and it's very trendy.
To work with demons?
Not demonology, but to worship demons. At least it was becoming very trendy 5 years ago. And I'd see a lot of people are saying, well, demons aren't bad.
All right, we almost done. I got one more topic I want to ask you about because it's something you continuously kept bringing up.
What?
Vampires.
Oh, as I know, you were listening a lot of vampires. And I, you know, as I said, I'm a descendant of the original Feliz de Cassette. The Ursuline convent casket girls smuggled vampires back from Europe in their little caskets. Now, in the last 2 years, now it's them that were the vampires that were coming over. That's very new added on. Cassette just means suitcase, and they were given a dowry. And the word cassette means casket, but casket wasn't used for the word coffin until late 19th century. So it was just a play on the words, and one of the tour guides in the French Quarter was common for pushing that, and everybody just followed it through. Then they'd say they were trapped up, locked in forever to the attic of the Ursuline nuns. No one could go there because it was sealed shut, but I went up there. But of course, at that time, I did not know that I, too, was literally a bloodline casket girl. Maybe that's why the head of the Ursuline nuns said, come on up. Now, I looked. Floorboards were open. They were doing work, and termites were there. No coffins. I looked around.
What if they were removed?
They were removed. They couldn't be removed. No coffins, no vampires. I wanted to find one, okay? There were some holes in the walls that shot light through, and they have those things open now and then. But I went into one room where they say they kept the insane nuns, in another area where they had children. But it was mainly an empty attic, which they used to do tours. And when I was a kid, I went up there too. So once the termites came, the floorboards were weak. It was locked down. So easy target to make up stories about. Come to Saint Germain. No, come to Saint Germain in the house on the corner that was a gay bar that had shut down for about 20 years. So they made a lot of stories up about that. The Saint Germain line in New Orleans. I'm related to that.
You related to everybody.
I'm telling you, the farther back you go. But the thing is, that Saint Germain had nothing to do with the Comte de Saint Germain. I wanted it to. I did the research to check. No, there's just Saint Germains in New Orleans. Is all I'm saying. But maybe one could live there. But the Saint Germain, New Orleans people that were that name were not from the Comte de Saint Germain line.
You might be related to me.
I could be. I could be. I mean, did you have family in New Orleans?
Maybe.
You don't know?
Maybe.
It depends. You never know. But it just spiraled into more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
Shakespeare? Related to Shakespeare?
No way.
Yes. I literally, they sent me a list, and they said here, and on that list was first cousin to William Shakespeare, 13th cousin to Queen Elizabeth, Jackie O. I'm a cousin to Jackie O. Somebody else was in there. Prince Albert I thought was great. I have a lot of the cans, so I must have known that.
What kind of bloodline you got?
Huh?
What kind of bloodline you have?
Weird. And then my father brings in 41% of like Gypsy and Transylvania, and he's got a little bit of connection to Vlad Tep. So through Mary Tech, Queen Mary Tech. So it's all over the place. My grandma always told me something. You got royal blood. It's like, you didn't tell me it was vampire royal blood, man. You know? And I knew about the Bloody Mary thing.
Yeah.
But I got a little bit of everything. I'm all over.
But are we talking about vampires the way the movies portray them? Or are we talking about... What would you consider a vampire?
When movies portray them, has only been around as long as movies have been around, which isn't that long.
Right, but that would be the only way we could depict what a vampire is.
Every culture had some form of reanimated corpse that would come back and wreak havoc with many different names. You know, they weren't refined and pretty like in the movies, or debonair and Svengali-like. You know, they were more crude and eat your organs whole and suck on the blood right out of your skin. You know, they were existence. But there's also astral vampires and spirit kind of vampires. I definitely believe in those. And they might occasionally walk in, and then someone else could have that concept. But most the vampire stuff is fantasy, you know, except for the energy vampires. And people that drink blood for a medical reason, people that drink blood for sexual reasons. There's so many reasons. If you go by only people that drink blood or vampire definition, then only ones that take energy. But they can walk in. There can be walk-ins as well from certain forms. The original vampire that was, I guess, in New Orleans, for example, would have been an invisible entity that drained your life while you slept. Later, part of the whole reanimated corpse thing. But mainly, it was taking your life in the night from the evil miasma of the principalities of air and things mists that came from the graveyards. We had the highest mortality rate in North America. No one knew why, except maybe evil spirits or vampires, and in many cases the Americans, because they didn't like the Americans. Anyway, there's different kinds. I believe in the spiritual. I've had visitors that seem vampiric. I've been having a lot of dealings with different vampire clans in town. I am allegedly the mother of one of the vampire clan's children in town. Fred from the Endless Nights. I would go, I am vampire adjacent, not a vampire. Never wanted to be. But I married one. I dated a couple. The one that they talk about a lot.
Hypothetically, or?
Well, I mean, like the guy that they're always talking about that all around the French Quarter that's on this street, and he looks like this. He was this guy that I was dating that was a vampire tour guide back when they made up most of the stuff about, 30 years ago, 28 years ago.
But you have never actually seen a vampire the way they depicted.
A
in movies?
reanimated corpse come back to life to bite?
Correct.
No.
Okay.
But I have with the Rougarou. And if you believe, the Rougarou it's all part of it. I
Is
have
the
had,
Rougarou a monster?
not to me, maybe to
So
you.
what is a Rougarou?
Oh, the Rougarou, the Lougarou.
Rougarou or Lugarou?
It's both. The Lougarou is the French word for vampire.
Okay.
The Rougarou is how it ended up being called in the swamps and in New Orleans. Rue means red, and we did have the red wolf there, so that's probably why they did that. So I have encountered the Rougarou. Now, the idea, and he's gotten more comical as time goes by, that it was, you do something bad, like the boogeyman's going to get you, the Rougarou going to get you. If you broke some taboos, like on Good Friday or something, the Rougarou gonna get you.
Yeah.
But he would be a changeling spirit, but usually a wolf, but he can change it anything you want. It's nothing to do with the full moon, of which you do not have anyway. Full moon or, anything like that. But he's really thought to be a protector spirit of the forest. So if you're coming to destroy the forest, he will destroy you. So a monster, is it always a monster? It depends on what's in your heart at the time. In fact, it depends on how much evil is in you at the time of the attack, which determines how long you personally would stay in your changeling state. He doesn't want to hurt you, but he wants to spill your blood. And then if you can't keep your mouth shut about that attack for a year and a day, you will get the curse of the Rougarou, and he will be spared of it.
All right, we're going to end with this.
Okay.
Is there something that you want the people to know about yourself that they don't know already? Or is there just a message that you have for them?
I truly believe in the spirit world, and I believe that we can help each other. And I want, I've been nicknamed the Necro-therapist because I help the living and the dead. And your spirits, your ghosts, your loved ones, they need to be remembered because they're still there with you. They need to be remembered, and what they need is you to tell their stories about their strength, about their humanity, about who they were, so they can remember who they are, and we can help each other because we're not doing so good on our own as a human race, and that I like to be friends with my ghosts, even if they're scary. I do have one story you wanted to know if I was going to die or something. Did you ask me something like that? Did I ever have a spirit that I thought was going to kill me?
Talk about it.
It's quick. My most haunted nonstop night was, almost the only one, a cabin in the woods, right? And it was at a friend's place.
Mm-hmm.
I was visiting the mouth of the Mississippi because I was working with her so much at the end, up at Lake Itasca. And I went there and I gave her offerings and such in the day. And they say everything you put there will get all the way to New Orleans within, 12 days or something like that. So I put these wishes and things and blood in there to
Whose blood?
Mine, to be in there. And then we went back to the cabin, and I saw the Thunderbird on the side of the car, and it was a long drive. We got to the cabin, and we watched Maya Dern's a voodoo movie, and I passed out on the couch, and they just left me there or whatever. And all kind of stuff was going on in the room. They were like Native Americans jumping and hitting and all over the tables and the furniture. I'm like, what the hell? They didn't notice I was there. I was just watching all this stuff. Went back to sleep. Something else happened. And then I woke up and I had this really big hand on my chest. And I was lying on there and I was like...
Like a human hand?
Yeah, but big.
Yeah.
And it was dark, but I could see a little bit. And it was, and I was going to try to pull it up, but it was exceedingly heavy. And the arm kept going. I kept feeling up the arm. And it feel like a regular arm, just giant. And it was draining all of my life force. I mean, every inch of it. But I called her. She wasn't trying to hurt me.
What you mean, her?
I'm pretty sure it was a woman. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She was connecting with my heart, and we were melding both creatures. And I felt the most intense and dramatic loneliness, loss, and pain, like a lost everything, that she was reaching out, but her existence and my existence could not exist together without this drain. So I had to remove her, and it was extremely heavy. I was very weak, and I tried to get the hand off me, and it took everything I had, and I passed back out. And then I woke up and something was like looking under the covers. I was like, and I look up, I see a woman, very plain. She was an angel, but very plain, in a bathrobe. And I'm like, she's like, oh, I'm sorry to wake you. I'm looking for my glasses. I said, what's your name? She said, Elgina. And I said, Elgina, am I going to get any sleep tonight? She's like, probably not. Should I go in the room over there with the other people? She said, I think so, honey. And she helped me up. And I walked to the other room and got in bed, one of the girls, and I said, what the hell's going on in there? And I said, why didn't you tell me it was haunted? She goes, well, I was kind of testing you. I was like, well, damn, woman, you almost killed me. And in the morning we woke up and we came in late at night, and she hadn't been there in years. And someone had devastated the forest. I mean, all the trees were knocked down, and it woke up some entities. And it brought the power and the mother or the river of who I was trying to connect with and who I definitely connect and still serve as a Mama EC. And yes, it almost killed me, but there was no fear in that. There was sadness and loneliness of beyond explanation.
Yeah.
So there you go. Sweet dreams.
We're going to end it on that. I appreciate you being here, making this trip all the way down.
I can also thank friends that lived in this lovely city of Austin. I'm going to go to do something in Texas and San Antonio tomorrow, and maybe we'll be back.
Hopefully.
And you're going to come and see my haunted museum when you're in New Orleans.
You can hold me accountable to that.
Okay, and we'll show you all sorts of things. And I'm waiting for a haunted banjo to be delivered, a cursed banjo to be delivered right now, because I got a whole bunch of haunted artifacts. And maybe you could play it.
Me?
Yeah.
Count me out. But I'm so grateful for you to be here. Thank you so much again.
I'm going to go give this offering to your fairies or to the spirits in your forest, the forest dwellers, if you
Be
prefer.
careful out there, snakes and
Well,
all
I'm just going right there.
Okay.
And I'll give it by one of these guys.
All right.
Or one of that tree right there. Is that easy to get to?
That's fine.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well,
Honey,
thank you, man.
to sweeten him up for him, crystal for shiny things and beautiful flowers, and a blue bottle, as you know about the blue bottles, right? You had them at the front of your property.
Maybe I didn't put them there. Maybe I didn't put them there.
Oh, uh-huh.
But we'll leave it at that. Stay tuned. Stay horrible.